Hey guys, gonna talk about SGD. I'll touch a little bit on what happened yesterday, what I thought about it. I didn't trade it long or short. I don't trade these uphalty stuff, but really, I want to focus on the market open action. I want to focus on something that's really an A plus 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 manipulated pattern that we've seen over and over and over again, especially on plays like this, where obviously crazy manipulated stocks, low flow stocks give crazy manipulated patterns. I'll go over a pattern. I'll show you my Discord. By the way, information down below about this, of this same setup, manipulated setup happening over and over. I have example of these same tricks. And not only, I'm talking tricks that lead to, 30, 40% fades. This is already up. This is already faded 50% so far. It's not even market close yet. We're about half an hour away. But yeah, we'll go over that. So SGD. First of all, think about this. One thing I want to mention about this is that we got this tight halt band manipulation. TPST was also abusing this tight halt band manipulation. The main thing you need to know about this, okay? The main thing you need to, if we go back to that day on the book, because remember, the order book is the stock market. The order book determines how stocks move, right? If we actually go back to this constant halting action, one thing you'll notice is that on every single one of these unhalts, God, you can barely. On every single one of these unhalts, there's no orders between the downhalt level and the uphalt level. There's a bunch of orders where the downhalt is, and there's a bunch of orders where the uphalt, and then there's nothing in between. That means if you're shorting this, and you're shorting, because oh, it's up 300, 400, 600, 800%. Doesn't matter what at this point, it doesn't matter what the percent is at all. Just like TPST, it didn't matter what the percent was. Doesn't matter. What matters is the book and where the sellers are. You know what I mean? If you're shorting, you need sellers to act as resistance. And look at this, man. Like, here's the downhalt, here's the uphalt. There's like 1,000 orders here, man. Like, that means as soon this rigger slaps 1,000 shares, it just instantly uphalts, right? It just instantly uphalts. And the same thing and it works both ways to the downside, right? And then he's just keeping a big bid at the bottom to ultimately support the stock. Again, here's another uphalt. This unhalts. Here's the uphalt level up here. Here's the downhalt level. There's no orders, right? So it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what the gapping percentage is. Doesn't matter at all. Here's another one. Instant uphalt. Doesn't matter. Same. And then it even downhalts a few times. Tries to bait some shorts. Get some longs to sell. Bait some shorts. Oh, the downhalt. Retail shorts see a downhalt and they think it's bearish. That's why downhalts could be massive short traps, right? And that's also why you don't want to chase out of downhalts unless you have a really, really good reason to do it. But yeah, I mean, this is the same stuff at unhalts, instant uphalt through what the 3,000 orders on the book here. Wow, 3,000 orders on the book, insane resistance. Same here. It unhalts. It unhalts. Here's a bid. Here's the uphalt level. It squeezes on a couple thousand shares. Like, it doesn't matter. as long as the order book on all these unhalts is super thin, it just doesn't matter. They could just, if they want to keep rigging it, they could just keep rigging it. Okay, and then it just goes up, 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 and then yeah, I like the after hours. They throw up a massive. They throw up like they start stacking bids in the mid twos. The order book to the upside. If we zoom out, there's nothing here. There's no between besides this one guy at 3.8, between 3.8 and $6, there are no orders on the book. They throw up some bids, they initiate it, goes through the entire book. Goes through the entire book in the after hours because there's nothing here. There's nothing, and then everyone's chasing it because they think, they think this is done. They think this is done. They think this is done. People are putting limits. You can see limit orders being shoved up here. People start throwing up limits up here, trying to catch this. They're trying to catch this. They're trying to catch this. They're trying to catch this. They just keep squeezing. Just keep squeezing. Doesn't matter. Your temporary limit orders aren't really going to do anything if they're just going to keep throwing bids under this thing and keep pushing up higher. Like you can see the riggers putting up bids. This is what really strong stocks. In my APLM long, bid follow up, bids, but you just see constant bids. Leads to the squeeze. But yeah, A plus pattern. I want to focus on this. So manipulate stocks give manipulated patterns. What does that mean? You get stuff like, here's your little downtrend break, some higher lows, some higher lows, and get your big retail push into the down halt. Seen it a million times. Then what happens after the down halt, right? Oh, down halt is bearish, right? Instantly gets manipulated back up. But one of the key lessons we always learn is that these manipulated pushes, if they don't continue right away, these are like the A plus moments where you need to be paying attention, because if you don't get an instant short squeeze, and keep in mind this stock is up like 1,400%, but this is the only time where there's actual real liquidity in this, not yesterday where it's doing a bunch of tight halt band BS. It's the extreme moments in manipulated low floats that where everyone's expecting one thing to happen, but you if you trade these enough, you start having kind of rules of thumb where it's like, well, these need to go, and if it starts stalling and we start getting pullbacks and pullback bounces off of VWAP that let retail longs who weren't longing down here, which most of them weren't, they're chasing the VWAP bounces, they're chasing the support, they're chasing these lower high breaks. These become the moments for the short, right? They really do. If especially these second pushes, I always like it when second pushes stall. We saw this on the backside, right? Big manipulated move, pullback, second push. If the second push sometimes breaks the high of the first push, but if that just doesn't keep going and you get another low volume pullback, in this case, there was a hidden buyer at 6. There's some guy bought like 100,000 shares at $6 to support this bid, right? He supported the bid. Retail's risking 6. 6 is not broken, not broken, not broken. Push, second push. After the first manipulated push, crazy manipulated push, second retail push, doesn't go anywhere. Comes back down, hidden buyer's gone, and then, rest is history, right? Just down halts and fades and all that type of thing. But yeah, similar concept. So let's look at this candle. So this candle was interesting. It faded a full dollar and reclaimed the full dollar all at once. So let's look at what happened. Okay. So we get a big. So here's the unhalt from the low sevens. Big manipulated look at all this empty space. Tons of empty space. Squeezes through that empty space into the ask. So the ask are up here, and there's a lot of them. Okay, and there's no bids following this up. So this is already bearish. Consolidates. Sometimes you don't know if they're going to pull it right away or if they're going to, consolidate it. And this is classic. They throw up some bids for the second push, second retail push. Throw up some bids at VWAP, second retail push, and then they swipe them. And then they manipulate it again. Every time there's a big dump like this, every single time there's a big dump like this, it creates an air pocket, and they'll use that to manipulate it back up. But again, if all these retail slappers, especially the ones up here, if this doesn't immediately start going through these, 850 guys and 9 guys, and if the buying slows down and the buying gets thin, this is the moment to short. And I'll show you other examples of this. So no bids followed up, the buying stalls at the top, we get a thin pullback, and then you get the best signal ever, which is when the asks start moving themselves down. We get a few here, and we get a big one right here, and this is such great confirmation of the fade, right? This is a retail, you swipe them, you get everyone to chase again, you get shorts to freak out because it's this huge $1 reclaim that happens in 15 seconds. Throw up a huge ask, never even gets touched. There's one bid, but below that one bid, there's nothing. If you zoom out, there's nothing all the way down to the low sixes. What happens? That bid gets taken out. You start seeing some new offers start to get moved down, but really what matters is you start to see some bids, but really what matters is, okay, like there's new bids, but are these offers getting attacked in any way, right? Is there any buying, right? Eventually stocks run out of liquidity. That's the thing. Like even if there are bids on the backside, what matters is there buying pressure through these key levels, right? If there's not, there's no reason to cover. There's no reason to cover. Like if you're short this manipulated move, from here or from here, right? You could be like, well, I'm gonna wait to see if this guy gets taken out, and I'm gonna wait to see if this 830 guy gets taken out, and maybe even this 850, whatever your risk is. Um, the buying, even if there are bids, the buying needs to come in, and it needs to take out these offers, right? And if it doesn't, eventually bids get taken out, and then it down halts, right? And then it unhalts, and then there's like no bids on this thing, and this is like a real downhaul where asks start getting moved down. There's no real bids, and it just keeps getting sold into. And yeah, and then usually after it fades a lot, they'll start throwing up bids. This was a 40% pretty much down only fade. Um, Eventually, the manipulator will throw up some bids at some super 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 deep support level. But just because they start stacking a bunch of bids, bid, it's very often, especially on these extended ones, where they're just trying to it's just a backside structure, right? They're just setting up a backside structure, and especially when it gets really thin like this backside, when stocks get really thin on the backside, it takes a while for them to, um, every leg, market open, the legs down at market open could be really quick, but the legs down midday could take a while, right? So, everyone kind of wants that instant gratification of something like this, but in reality, you usually get the instant gratification in the morning. Then the real, the deeper fade, if your thesis is, hey, I think this has a lot more room to fall. I think this was a good, and this was good. This was a very good topping move over here. That's what I call it. That's a very classic manipulated topping move, and I'll show you examples. This is from my Discord. Information down below, by the way, of the same pattern happening, right? So I posted here. Um, you know, here's the move, right? Thin space, ask, new ask, no bids, they pull it. Other examples, BCDA. This happened a few days ago, right? Pull, empty space, manipulated push. Here's the ask, no bids, and the next real bids all the way down at 125. They just pull it straight down to 125, right? So other examples, INM. Remember this day where I shorted it and it went down 55%? Same thing. Tight halt band manipulation, by the way. So we got an up halt. Here's the pop up to the twos, and the same thing. We get a deep pull, empty space. It moves through the empty space. There's actually a hidden seller up here in the 190s. They throw up a bid, but as you see, that's like the only bid. There's really no bids below that. A new offer comes in, right? There's no buying, right? There's a big manipulated move, hidden seller, and then a real seller that's not even hidden. No bids, they dump it. Here's another example. TPST also at the top, by the way. Same thing. Big support swipe, huge manipulation, thin book, right? They dump it, thin book, big push. Here's a bunch of ask with no bids following up. This was the top and it's faded. It's in the threes now, by the way, just to let you know. So, on these really manipulated ones, we see the same type of price action. Sometimes MDAI, I was short of this, same thing. Deep swipe, move through the empty space. They swipe the lower high and they pull it. This faded straight down. This was top, by the way. Top of the manipulation, I should say. This was obviously the high days the top, but this is the top of the manipulated move before it goes down, and into what I would consider to be like real backside. And then yeah. So in my Discord, if you want information, down below. Same manipulated moves. And the thing is, you have to study these because the thing about moves like this, the thing about because the thing about these moves is you have to be able to react in real time. You have to see this, you have to see this, and you have to see this in the no bids, and you have to be able to remember plays where that happened. When I saw this, I was like, oh, TPST. I was like, this TPST move, same move. I instantly thought TPST because I remember trading it, and these moves can disappear for weeks at a time. You could go a whole month without seeing this type of manipulated move, right? On a manipulated ticker, you could just, you could kind of forget about this price action, forget about what the book map looked like, forget about these little tricks, that I have in here, right? Sometimes they happen 3 times in a week, and sometimes they don't happen for a month, and you have to be able to recognize them in real time. and you got to be able to react and do the right thing, right? In real time, especially if you haven't seen it in a while, right? So that's these we do see the same tricks over and over again, but they don't happen every single day, right? So and also then you also have to put it in the larger context of the stock, larger context of the extension, of the manipulation. You got to decide, is this a good moment? I think it's a great moment. This is a manipulated strong move that ends up not going anywhere. Nice little trick. And down only. So SGD. So interesting play. Sadly, Trade Zero had shares for $2 a share, so I did not get to trade it. Didn't get to trade it, so sadly, I have to do a little, backseat trader thing, which I don't really usually like to do. But I thought this one was so interesting, I had to make a video on it. So, yeah, crazy one. You know, hope you learned something about how to avoid this price action. This type of thing, right? It's just the order book's too thin. We got this tight halt band manip algo. There's no orders between the down halt level and the up halt level, and yeah, man, they were relentless. They were relentless with this thing. So I didn't touch it. I know some traders, that did trade it and took some L's. I know some traders who took some L's, who actually caught this fade, who were shorting up here and caught a 50% fade on this, and were still red on it. Because of how many losses it took on the way up, and that's oftentimes what happens on these types of plays. So, yeah, SGD, really interesting one. Definitely remember this chart. There's a lot of good lessons in here. So, have a good one, guys.